Most of us don't get enough vitamin C. So I encourage people to take high doses of vitamin C. And there are preparations now where they make vitamin C's not just ascorbic acid, but ascorbyl palmitate, fat soluble vitamin C's that absorb much more efficiently in the human digestive system. So I keep very high doses of vitamin C. And anyone who takes vitamin C, I encourage them to be on quercetin. Quercetin is a bioflavonoid. It's not only a natural anti-inflammatory and a wonderful antioxidant, but it also helps to keep the vitamin C in the tissues longer. And that's what we want. We want that protective mechanism of vitamin C in our cells.
Another product that they've used is a special extract of ginkgo biloba, different from what's available in health food stores. And that seems, in some experimental studies, seem to show there was evidence that it reduced the side effects of radiation. It helped to reduce the fibrosis effect.
Another one is bindweed. Bindweed is a weed that's found in lots of places in the United States. It grows wildly and is extremely available, to say the least. And that has been proven to have anti-angiogenic effects.
There are other tumor reduction type things like cat's claw, paudarco. They immune modulators like ashwagandha and some of the ginsengs. We also encourage people to have the mushroom complexes like AHCC and the like. There are many different variations of them.
We're now very fortunate to have a myriad of natural compounds that can both directly cause cell apoptosis and also significantly improve the immune system. So for example, poly-MVA, which not only causes cancer cell apoptosis, but also at the same time improves the health of our own healthy cells. Another very important compound for the prevention of cancer is DIM, which is an extract from broccoli that is very important for the prevention of breast cancer, but also for the prevention of certain other cancers like prostate cancer. Other compounds like melatonin have been shown to improve survival in certain cancers as well.
We encourage people to use pancreatic enzymes. When you take enzymes on an empty stomach, they actually act as anti-inflammatory and anti-cancer.
In our office, based on our experience and based on the scientific literature, the single most important supplement that someone can take are pancreatic enzymes. And I know to a lot of people that's going to sound surprising. That sounds weird. People who know about pancreatic enzymes will know that these are digestive enzymes, and they've been identified for over 100 years. Trypsin, the main pancreatic enzyme, was first identified in 1858, and it's known to be one of the main digestive factors in terms of breaking down protein foods. We've known that for over 100 years. Dr. Beard in 1902 first proposed that pancreatic enzymes, in addition to their digestive effect, represent the body's main defense against cancer and would be useful as a cancer treatment. And he actually used a tumor model to test pancreatic enzymes with near 100% success, published it in a major journal, and it was vilified because even then the idea of using natural substances to treat a terrible disease like cancer, which in those days was so mysterious, seemed completely and totally preposterous. Physicians who knew about Beard's work then applied it to their human patients with cancer because in 1902, 1906, there really weren't a lot of orthodox conventional treatments. Chemotherapy wouldn't be developed until the mid-1940s. So there were physicians willing to try his enzymes and with great success reported in the medical literature. However, the more successful Beard was, the greater was the backlash. Nothing's changed in 100 years. There's no question pancreatic enzymes have an anti-cancer effect. People that wish to prevent cancer, I think they should take enzymes. I myself take about 8 capsules 3 times a day. They're available in the health food stores as a non-prescription item. The third component of our therapy, first 2 diet, supplements with pancreatic enzymes, antioxidants. Third component, which is as important as the other 2, is detoxification.
Detoxification is crucial for the prevention of cancer and also for the treatment of cancer. How could we treat someone with cancer, whether it's with natural compounds or with chemotherapy, while their body is riddled with toxins?
In our program, we use detoxification aggressively. For example, when we're treating cancer patients and we put them on the diet and the supplements with the large doses of enzymes, and our average cancer patient can take 100 capsules of pancreatic enzymes a day, those tumors start dying, and that's wonderful. But tumors are very abnormal collections of cells. Again, everybody knows that, every medical student knows that, every layperson knows that. They produce all kinds of molecules and proteins and DNA that is not found in normal healthy tissue, and they produce hormones that are not found in normal healthy tissue. One of the hallmarks of cancer physiology is they have their own mechanisms, their own enzymes and hormones are not found in normal tissue. Well, that's great. When those cancer cells die, wonderful. But then all these molecules are released in the bloodstream. And a lot of them are foreign to normal healthy tissue, and people are going to get sick. It's like you're going to get a lot of toxic debris. Detoxification routines include simple procedures. For example, our most famous or notorious one are the coffee enemas, which come right out of the orthodox medical literature. They were in the Merck manual right up until 1977. All the nursing texts from the 1950s and 60s recommended coffee enemas. During the 20s and 30s, there were many articles in the mainstream academic literature showing value of enemas in general and coffee enemas in particular. There's no mystery as to how they work. Caffeine is a very active biomolecule. They use it to treat migraine headaches. They use it to treat asthma. When you take caffeine rectally as an enema, it stimulates certain nerves in the lower bowel, technically the sacral parasympathetics. When they're turned on, they feed back to the liver within seconds and cause the liver to release all its toxins and stimulate both phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification. Nothing, in my experience, helps the liver work faster, more efficiently, more effectively than coffee enemas. For a cancer patient who's breaking down huge masses of tumors, and most of my patients come to us with huge masses of tumors, coffee enemas can be life-saving. They get the liver to work better. Tumor waste are filed through the liver, and that's where they're mainly detoxified and neutralized and prepared for excretion through the intestinal tract. Coffee enemas stimulate that whole process to work more effectively. Now, in addition to coffee enemas, which cancer patients will do 4 times a day or even more, depending on how sick they get, we use a whole series of other procedures. We have liver flushes, which are those are more widely known in the alternative field. These are just simple procedures, again, to get the liver work better. My mentor, Kelly, used to say, if you can get the liver to work better, you can get over just about anything. There's some truth to that. Liver is the real key. It isn't enough to break down a tumor. You've got to get rid of those tumor waste, otherwise the patient can die from autointoxication. Also, the body mounts autoimmune reactions against tumor waste. One reason patients often get so sick on chemo when it works is not because it's failing necessarily, because they're dying of toxemia. I mean, not that I'm a proponent of most chemo, but when it does work, you're killing cancer. They don't think about the fact they've got to get rid of these tumor wastes.
N-acetylcysteine and alpha-lipoic acid. Together, they create glutathione, which is one of the main detoxifiers of our liver. And often, when people have cancer, their livers are so toxic that they can't synthesize healthy immune hormones for them anymore. So that's why we encourage people to detoxify their liver.
Glutathione, especially in the IV form that we use for many patients with cancer, have been shown in clinical studies to improve not only the outcome, but also it helps people manage and to tolerate their chemotherapy. So the side effects are significantly mitigated with the use of intravenous glutathione, and some studies are already pointing to a positive effect in terms of morbidity and mortality with the use of intravenous glutathione. These studies were done with glutathione in combination with chemotherapy. So here we see a few things. One, that the use of antioxidants and chemo can work together. We don't have to buy into this soundbite that, oh, you're taking chemo, you're using chemo, you have to stay away from antioxidants and anything natural. In fact, the studies show the opposite. Here's glutathione, a very potent antioxidant, used IV, and when used in combination with chemotherapy, the results were very, very promising and beneficial.
So detoxification is absolutely critical. We use juice fasts. Juice fasts are wonderful. When you stop food for a couple of days and take nothing but juices, for example, we use juice fasts. You basically put the systems at rest so they can recuperate from the battle. You know, getting rid of cancer, repairing a damaged body is a battleground, and the body needs rest. You know, none of us would think about working 7 days a week, although I do at times. You know, we need a day off. The body needs a break from repair, and actually juice fasts will often do that. They'll kind of put the body at rest so the body can recuperate. It's like taking a physiological vacation so then the body can get back to the battle of getting rid of cancer and repairing damaged tissue.
It's very important to do juicing, to juice vegetables, to juice some fruits, and also to puree many vegetables, and to consume these vegetables in forms of juices and purees in high dosages, because this will help the body detoxify in a holistic way, in a comprehensive way. The vegetables know how to detoxify us in a complete way. I'm talking about broccoli, cauliflower, burdock, beets, carrots, parsley, etc., and used in combination can significantly help our liver and our bodies to detoxify. In terms of the treatment of cancer, we must take a holistic approach and approach each patient individually. Everyone is biochemically unique, physiologically unique, spiritually unique, and everyone has to be understood as a unique individual. And therefore, the treatment has to be individualized for each patient.
When patients come to traditional medicine for cancer therapy, again, it's all about the medication that they use. When people come to complementary physicians, we test vitamin, mineral levels, absorption, digestion. We test for heavy metals. We try to get the immune system strong so it can do the job it's supposed to do to attack the cancer. There is research on a product called Avamar, which is a fermented wheat germ extract that helps to decrease the glucose uptake in cancer cells. Many years ago, a researcher, Dr. Warburg, found that glucose is grabbed by cancer cells and it gives the cancer cell the energy in its metabolism to multiply faster than regular cells. Cancers need sugar in the blood glucose, to thrive on. The Avamar product decreases the glucose uptake into cancer cells, so it makes it more difficult for cancer cells to exist. People that have high-carb diets, people that are diabetic and are overweight, have higher risk of cancer and progression of cancer than those people who don't eat lots of carbs and therefore don't have lots of sugars on board.
The trend, and this is certainly the direction of the future and the direction of the present, is to use biologicals, biological response modifiers that can modify the body's own natural healing capacity. So rather than going against the body and attacking the body or attacking the cancer, we're now using the body's own internal knowledge and defenses, yet strengthening it so that the body can do what it does naturally. And we're now realizing, and we realize this in the holistic world for years, but now even some people in the conventional medical world are now understanding that the body can potentially heal better than any drug that we'll ever be able to discover. In our practice, we're using the Dr. Emanuele Ravicci's protocols for the treatment of cancer, the late Dr. Emanuele Ravicci. He is known as one of the foremost holistic medical doctors vis-a-vis the treatment of cancer. He was a genius not only in the medical field, but he was also a biochemist. And so he understood biochemistry just about more than any doctor. And he understood how biochemistry and the basic elements of the periodic table can be used in conjunction with fatty acids that he had a deep and almost prophetic knowledge of, can be used in combination to modulate our biochemistry in such a profound way that gets to the roots of some of the causes of cancer. And briefly, I can tell you that his methods were based on the knowledge that life, both in the organic world and also in the inorganic world, in the world of the elements, can be divided into alkaline and acidic. And our bodies go through these diurnal phases of sometimes we're alkaline and sometimes we're acidic, and we need both. And frequently with patients who have cancer, they're stuck in one phase. But Dr. Ravicci not only identified this as one of the deeper underlying causes of cancer, but he also had methods of treatment to get the body back into those diurnal rhythms of both expressing both the alkaline side of who we are and also the acidic aspect of our biochemistry as well.
So my late father, Dr. Beljanski, was a biologist at the Pasteur Institute in Paris. And in the 60s, 70s, even 80s, everybody believed that mutation at the level of the DNA were the sole cause of cancer. And he had the idea to look how environmental toxins do affect our DNA. And he was able to measure the destabilization of the DNA induced by environmental toxins, and that destabilized DNA would replicate much faster than healthy DNA.
So Dr. Beljanski developed this test called the ONCO test, which was capable of determining whether a substance was carcinogenic. He would take cancerous DNA and put it in solution, and then he would add this substance, and he was able to determine whether or not there was increased replication of the DNA by measuring the absorbance in a special spectrophotometer. And he found out that substances which are capable of intercalating themselves between the DNA were actually turned out to be very carcinogenic substances.
The most famous person that my father was able to help was actually a former French president of the Republic, François Mitterrand. And at that time, the official doctor of the French White House has declared that the president was going only to survive for only a few months, and that the country should be ready for early elections. And against all odds, the president started to get better and better. There was no need for early elections, and Mitterrand was able to end his second term. But after Mitterrand finally passed away, all the people who had been very infuriated with the process against my father turned against him, and my father was indicted by a French judge. His laboratory was raided. Most of his papers and research were seized and destroyed. And my mother also was indicted. They were both put on the house of arrest. I was told that I should not go back to Paris, even myself, even though I had nothing to do with that. I could be arrested also at the customs. And my father never got a date for a trial. Never. They had really nothing against him, but what they wanted to do is to prevent him to continue his research, to publish, and they let him really destroy himself of despair of not having a lab, because he was really living for his research. When I understood that my father was dying, I made the trip to Paris, even though, I had been told that there was a risk. And I went to his deathbed and I made him two promises. One, to continue his research, his work, and the other one, to take the case to the European Court of Human Rights. And I'm pleased to report that we have won the case.
So Dr. Beljanski's products are available as nutritional supplements, and I try to use them in a lot of cancer patients, sometimes along with conventional treatment or after conventional treatment, and sometimes as a substitute. And again, we of course need much more research and much more studies on these subjects, but the problem is that all of the money is going into using these non-natural substances that are need to be tweaked so that their chemical structure is different from natural substance so they can be patented. Then if they're patented, that's where the big money is. And that's what prevents, in my opinion, the ongoing beneficial research to help cancer patients, because natural substances are not being researched sufficiently.
You are alone as far as protection from cancer from our society. Unfortunately, there isn't anyone trying to promote alternative, out-of-the-box therapies, treatments, preventions of cancers. It really doesn't exist in our society. So you have to be your own advocate in preventing cancers and disease. Some practitioners do not know any of the things that were mentioned here tonight. Some are opening their minds slightly to it. However, that's the minority. So it's a new world, and you have to go to a practitioner that is open-minded, that is into this, all the things that we've talked about, so that you can have an advocate behind you that is versed in this and help you get the appropriate blood test and put you on the right road to health and prevention and treatment if you have a cancer. You want to utilize all things that we have talked about, that you can utilize to help prevent and treat cancer?
I was diagnosed with colon cancer about 2 years ago. I was technically stage 4 cancer. I had metastatic cancer. I had my lymph nodes were affected. My liver had lesions in it, and that was like in February. I think that the most important thing that I've discovered is because I've eaten well for years, and I've exercised, I've done yoga. I always thought I was doing the right things, and then I thought to myself, well, why do I get cancer? And none of my other friends who aren't eating as well, aren't taking care of themselves as well, they don't. So I came to conclude that it was probably because I always had stressful jobs. So I started this intensive nutritional protocol probably about 4 days before I started chemo, within days. And it's not to say that I haven't always eaten well, but this was intensive. This protocol was specifically meant to support chemotherapy, to help the chemotherapy work better, to make sure I didn't have side effects, and to also build up my immune system so that I could withstand the chemotherapy. Because most people lose weight, get sicker, they don't get better when they're on chemo. I mean, ideally that's what should happen, but that's not what happens. Within days I felt great, and then I started the chemo, and I'd say for the first month or so I was kind of feeling not so good because of the side effects. But my naturopath said, just keep taking, stick to the protocol. It will catch up with the chemo and eventually surpass it, so that you can stay ahead of it. And I would say probably February, March. At the end of March, I started to feel better. Not only did I feel better, I mean, I didn't have side effects. I mean, the nurses said, we're giving you a poison. This is going to, the effects of chemo are cumulative, so that you end up, the effects should get worse as I go on. I've been doing chemo for 6 months, and I feel better now than I have in years. They just put up their hands and say, I can't believe it. I mean, they had written me off as dead, quite frankly. I mean, I had a tumor the size of a grapefruit in my abdomen, which is probably the size of a large prune now after 3 months. And now I'm stage 1. There's no activity in my lymph nodes. Everything's gone in the liver. And people say, oh, that's astounding. It's a miracle. It's not. I did the right things. I think that a lot of people don't. What they do is they don't incorporate everything. They don't do integrative medicine. People wait till they're really, really sick after they've been ravaged by chemo and radiation before they go to a naturopath. And what can he do then? He or she can do. They can try their best, but you still have a better chance of living at that point if you try naturopathic remedies. When I was diagnosed with cancer, I didn't panic. I wasn't fearful. I was confident in that I could conquer this health challenge, but I didn't do it just with food. I've done it with spiritual healers. My friends have prayed for me. I've eaten super nutritious diet. I've incorporated IV drips and ozone therapy, anything and everything that I can, what I would call integrative therapy. It's also an attitude. I mean, I'm very blessed with a very positive attitude. There's very few days that I sat and felt sorry for myself and said like, oh, misery, I've got cancer. I love myself. I care about myself. I love the friends around me, and I want to be alive. I like being myself. I want to be alive for another 90 years. I started to talk to people since I've had cancer, and I've been so successful. The doctors that I go to say, could you talk to this person? I have a person who has cancer. Would you talk to them? And I talk to them, and I try to encourage them and tell them that it's not a death sentence, that you have to, if you can incorporate as much into your life that is fulfilling. I mean, we're all going to die at some point anyway, but while we are alive, let's have as positive an attitude as we can.